Hi everybody, welcome back to our new venture creation class. For today's topic, we're going to be taking a look at chapter 5, which is called What Are You Selling? What are you selling? If you think about it, you have a business, you're probably selling something, right? So this is talking about what are you selling. We have in this one, two, three, four major points to raise that the author has. So let's start off with the first of those. And that first point is thinking of your product as a solution. Thinking of your product as a solution. And under this I have 2 points to raise. The first is, let me just give a definition of the word product. Let's make sure we're all on the same page. I mean, I think everybody knows what a product is, but let's just make sure that we're all identifying it the same way. Your textbook defines, and I think properly so, that a product can be a good and or a service. A good and or a service. Oftentimes when we hear people talk about products, what we're thinking about is some sort of good, something tangible that they have. But a service is also a product as well. If you have a business where you bake cakes for people or whatever, the baking is a service, right? And also you oftentimes see services and products tied together. Well, the baking is a service. When I give you the cake, that's a product, it's a good. So it's a combination of both. So you want to keep in mind that a product is not just something tangible. It can be a service, it can be a product and a service. Let's go to the second point that the author has. And the second point is so key to the success of any small business. And interestingly, we know it, and yet oftentimes entrepreneurs avoid it. They somehow pass by it and don't think about it. They have a better solution, etc. This first point is really important. It says your product must satisfy or resolve. Your product must satisfy or resolve a customer's problem, or it could be problems. It must satisfy or resolve a customer's problem or problems. Look at that. Again, what's the focus here? The focus isn't on the product. The focus is on the problem. What problem am I solving? How am I helping out this customer? So I have a couple subpoints for this. Your customer probably already has some problems that he, she, it, they, etc. know about. Now these problems that you know about, the author uses a buzzword here, uses the phrase pain points. They're a pain. These problems are a pain. So if you know about them, they're a pain point. Oh my gosh, every week I can barely make payroll. That's a pain point. We know we've got some problems here. We don't have the cash flow to make payroll. So again, some problems are known and they're called pain points. Some problems, however, the second point here, some problems may not even be known. Your customer might not even know it's a problem. Might not even recognize it. Let me give you an example here. Recently, I bought a new SUV. I bought an Acura, and one of the many electronics on it, as electronics coming in and out, and I don't know half of them, and I'm learning, what to do, etc. with them. But one of them I didn't even know existed. I didn't even know I had a problem. But after I started using it, I can't think how anybody would go without it. With regard to speed control, which most automobiles have, most SUVs have, etc., speed control. The Acura I have has kind of a smart speed control. And that means that you set it, okay, whatever, okay, I'm going to set it on 70 miles an hour or something like that, and I'm great. But have you ever noticed that when you're driving and you have speed control on, maybe you're on some highway or turnpike or something like that, everything's going fine until all of a sudden there's a car in front of you, and your car starts to catch up to it, etc. So now what do? And particularly if I can't pass, right? There's a couple cars where I can't pass. Now I have to hit the brakes because otherwise my speed control is going to take me right into the back of that car. Well, what Acura has done, and I believe quite a few other car makers have done as well, is they've come out with smart speed control, and there's sensors on the front of the vehicle. And as soon as, let's see if I get this so we can see it, as soon as my vehicle starts to get close to the back of the other one, the sensor on my vehicle picks it up, and it slows my vehicle down. I don't have to hit the brake or shut off the speed control or whatever. It automatically slows it down, so I have an assured safe distance between me and the vehicle in front. And then eventually when I can pass, I can pull over here, it shuts that off, and I go right back up to 70. So think about that. I didn't even know that was a problem. I mean, I just figured that was just part of life, you know. Okay, I'm got speed control on. I'm going to have to hit the, you know, the brake and shut it off, etc. on a number of occasions. But I didn't even think of it as a problem. It was just everyday life. And then they came out with this new thing, and it's great. I absolutely love it. So again, sometimes we know of the problems and their pain points. Sometimes we don't recognize them. I mean, I guess the problem was there, right? But I didn't recognize it as a problem. Sometimes that's the case. Now, when you have that, when you have a problem, a customer has a problem, doesn't know that he or she has it. You know, sometimes you have to come up with a product that's going to thrill your customer or ignite your customer to see, oh my gosh, there's a better way. Like me, oh my gosh, I didn't know I could do this. There's a better way. Showing a better way, you know, than doing it the way that we were doing it before. And you know, now all of a sudden I can get a more fulfilling experience. And the textbook uses at this point a quote that you probably have heard of, maybe even you have said it. I didn't even know I needed it. But now that I've got it, my gosh, I now need it. So that's what we're talking about here. Your product might be solving a problem, and it should. In fact, that's why you have a product, to solve a problem. But sometimes problems are known, the pain points. Sometimes they're not known. I didn't even know I needed it type thing. You can still come out and be a winner with regard to that type of product. So that's the first major topic here, thinking of your product as a solution. You know, one of the things you don't want to be is you don't want your product to, you know, be out there looking. I have a product looking for a solution. I have a product looking for a problem. What you want is you want to have a problem, and then your product is going to solve it. It's so much easier that way than the other way around, where I have a product and now I got to find a problem out there to solve. Much better to do it the other way around. So let's go to the second point under what are you selling. Don't become a solution in search of a problem. Exactly what I'm saying here. Don't become a solution in search of a problem. And under this, I have 4 points to raise. You may have seen years ago a movie that was made, fairly successful movie, and they actually kind of bring it back every now and then. I think they had a special Major League Baseball game this year associated with it. You might have seen a movie called Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner. Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner. Now, in that Field of Dreams, what he does is he's a farmer out in Iowa, someplace like that, and he decides he's going to build a baseball field. And right now, nobody's really clamoring around saying, I need a baseball field. But someone says to him, or maybe even he says it, if you build it, they will come. If you build it, the customers will show up. The problem is that's not a very good strategy. This concept of I'll come up with a product and I'm sure customers will all of a sudden want this product. All of a sudden I'll have the people coming to my store, coming to my website to buy it. Not a good thing. You've also heard a related phrase, it will sell itself. No, it won't. Yeah, it won't. Believe me, for most cases, people are kind of crazy. We live our own lives, etc., and we don't recognize that something out there is valuable. We need someone to show us, etc., on that. So don't think that just I build it, they will come. Don't think it will sell itself. No, it won't. So what your author suggests, and what I mentioned to just a few moments ago, is you want to start with a problem and then work to get a solution. Start with a problem, work to get a solution. Don't start with a solution and then try to find a problem. Don't start with a product and try to find a problem. Start with a problem and work towards a solution. Start with a problem and come up with a product that satisfies that solution. This solution that you're providing, this is known as your value proposition. This is the benefit that you're providing. If you think about it, this is kind of the why of your business. People, when they go through life, are listening to a radio station. You may not know it. It's going off in their head. It's not like they have a radio or something. It's not like they're listening to it on their iPhone or whatever. They have a radio station going off in their head. And all people are listening to the same station. It sounds crazy, right? Everybody's listening to the same station. No, I don't like your music. You don't like my music or whatever. We're going to listen to different stations or whatever. Or I'm not even listening to radio. Well, everybody is listening to a radio station, and it's the same one. It's WIIFM. WIIFM, which stands for What's in it for me? What's in it for me? The W from what? the I, the F, and the M. What's in it for me? That's your radio station, WIIFM. People, when you talk about this product, they want to see, how does it benefit me? Why should I pay attention to you? Why should I get an interest in you? You have to show me that there's a benefit, that your product solves a problem I have. It's going to provide me with some sort of benefit. You might want to take a look a little bit later in the course. When we get to Chapter 8, we're going to talk a little bit more about this. But keep in mind, people are listening to WIIFM. They want to know what benefits coming there, what's in it for me, etc. So again, you want to start with a problem, work towards a solution, work towards the product, as opposed to the other way around. Now, the next point that you're, and by the way, I mentioned a few minutes ago the phrase value proposition. This concept of, how you're going to solve my problems, the benefit, etc. That's your value proposition. That's certainly a buzz phrase that we have in here. Let's go to the next point under don't become a solution and search for a problem. The next point, in order to do that, in order to be a solution to a problem, the textbook mentions 2 or 3 things that you want to keep in mind. First, you have to know who your customers are or who they will be. How can I know what the problems are if I don't have them identified, right? So one of the first things you want to do is you want to identify your target market. Who are your customers, or who will my customers be? Who am I targeting, etc. And then the next thing you want to do along that line is you want to say, what problems do they have? What problems do they have? And as you start to go through this and you start to identify their problems or whatever, then what you want to do is you want to show them that you have a solution. Hey, listen, I know you have this problem. You can't make payroll every Friday or something like that. I have a solution. This is how we can solve your problem. And along that line, the solution that you come up with should be different and better than the solutions that your competitors are offering. Different and better than your competition. Different and better than substitute products that might also solve this problem. Yours is different. Yours is better. Yours is unique. Keep in mind, we talked about that in an earlier chapter. We were talking about strategy. And we we're talking about how what you want to do is you want to have a strategy that positions you for success. You want to have a strategy that gives you a competitive advantage. And along that line, we talked about there are a number of generic strategies that businesses tend to follow. One of those generic strategies that is followed a lot is called differentiation, or also product differentiation. And that's what we're talking about here. That's what your author's talking about. You have a solution to the problems of your customers, and the odds are your competition does too. Hopefully your solution differs in a better way than your competitors. Show that difference to your buyers. Hopefully they'll see that it's a benefit to them. They see the value proposition in it. Hopefully that's going to help you out to be successful, to start to sell this product that you have. Now, related to this, I've mentioned to you a fellow on YouTube, a YouTuber, who is a small business attorney, an entrepreneur himself, has written lots of books. He's basically an expert in entrepreneurship. And his name is Cliff Ennico. Cliff Ennico, that's E-N-N-I-C-O. E-N-N-I-C-O. To go to the web, I'd like you to go to YouTube, type up Cliff Ennico. There's a video that he has that I would like you to watch. It's about an hour and a half long. I warn you about that. It's about an hour and a half long. But the video is called How to Sell Anything to Anyone. How to Sell Anything to Anyone. He goes through and he gives you some ideas of what you can do to sell your product to these customers. They have a need. How do I let them know I've got it? How do I get them to buy mine, etc.? You want to take a look at Cliff Ennico's video there. Again, How to Sell Anything to Anyone. Well, that finishes up the second of the 4 major points that we want to take a look at. We looked at thinking of your product as a solution, and then the second point was don't become a solution in search of a problem. Let's go to the third of the 4 major points that we have in this chapter. How do I price my product? How do I price my product? Unless you have a nonprofit, and even then, you're probably still going to have a price. If you have a for-profit business, you're probably going to sell your products for some price. Even if you have a nonprofit, many of the things you might sell for a price. How do I price my product? And your textbook has 4 major points that it raises with regard to how to answer this. Let's take a look at, did I say 4? I'm sorry, it has 3 major points on how to answer this. Let's take a look at the first of these. Pricing goals and objectives include. Pricing goals and objectives. You know, when you're trying to figure out what price to come up with, probably not a bad idea to see what's my goal. Why, you know, this price that I come up with, what do I want it to do? What goal do I have? What objective do I have? And your author mentions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that I'm going to mention to you, and all of them are good. The first one is the one that probably comes to right off the bat. Profits. I want to make money. I'm selling this product because I want to make money. I want to, you know, pay for the product itself. I want to pay for things for me. I want to, you know, buy a house and a car, and I want to eat and, you know, provide, you know, clothing for my family, etc. like that. So you want to have profits. Certainly not a bad goal. And again, you know, if you're a nonprofit business, it's probably not your goal. But indeed, if you are for profit, profits, making money, certainly one of the goals. But there's more than that. Let's take a look at the second of the goals mentioned by our authors. Building market share and market penetration. Building market share and market penetration. You're just starting. You want to get into the market. You want to penetrate the market. And then once you get in there, you want to get a share of the market. I want to get a couple of customers, right? I want to get a share, etc. And I'd like to, over a period of time, I'd like to increase that share. I'd like to increase my sales, etc. like that. So the second major goal that we have here is market share and penetration. You might even put a hyphen there, increasing sales or getting sales or something like that. Let's take a look at the third point, the third goal mentioned by our authors, and that's establishing a market position. Establishing a market position. Now, this is a little bit different than coming up with a price, making sales or whatever. What position? Am I selling something to everybody? Am I selling something just for one segment of the market or another segment of the market? Do I want to be a high price, low priced, cheap, high quality? Where do I want to position myself in the market? So you want to establish a position for you. I mean, if you think about it, you know, Mercedes-Benz has a far different marketing position than Hyundai does in the same, you know, U.S. passenger car auto market, right? So where do you want to position yourself in the market? That's another goal that you have. The fourth goal mentioned by your authors, discouraging new entrants. Once I get in, right, I'm a new entrant, I'm in, I don't want anybody else in. There's already, you know, too much competition, and I don't want any other competitors. So another thing I want to do is discourage new entrants. I don't want new people entering the market. Stay away, and I don't need additional competition. The next goal that we have is increasing your cash flow. Increasing your cash flow. Now that's similar to profits and money, etc. But normally the profits and money you are talking about, normally what, excuse me, normally what you're looking at is, you know, payments. Oh, you know, I'll pay you over the next 3 months or whatever. I get this. But, you know, you can have all these payments that are promised to you, all these accounts receivable, you know, a term you've heard in accounting. You can have all these accounts receivable, but when it comes time for you to pay your bills, you can't pay your bill with an account receivable that you have. You need cash. You need to pay your bills with cash. So what you want to do is not only sell products so that you can make profit, you want to sell products to improve your cash flow so that you have enough cash flow to keep the business operating, to be able to pay for all those various operating functions that you have. And then the final goal, pricing goal mentioned by your author, and our good one, is attracting and or paying back investors. Attracting and or paying back investors. Now, some businesses, they have no investors. It's just me and I'm doing it. But normally as your business grows, you're going to need more money. Now, sometimes you can go to the bank and get more money or get some friends to loan you some more money or whatever. Sometimes maybe I can increase sales and get more money. But oftentimes to get more money, what do a lot of businesses do? They try to get an investor. Hey, invest in my business and I'll sell you 5% or I'll sell you 3%, I'll sell you 50%, whatever it might be. And that way you take their money and you use it to, you know, improve the business or whatever it might be. So you might want to be able to attract investors. And once you get them, how do you keep investors? Well, you pay them back with dividends and, you know, capital gains and other things like that. You pay them back. So this last goal that's mentioned by your author of your pricing goals or whatever is attracting and or paying back investors. All those sound good. There probably are some other goals as well. Those 6 goals, I think, are very solid goals. Let's go to the second of the 3 points under how do I price my product. your pricing range. If you think about whatever product you come up with, I'm selling a pizza, right? There's probably a range of prices that I can charge for it. The top of the range is known as your price ceiling. Your price ceiling, there's a buzzword for you, your price ceiling. And the bottom of your range down here, you don't want to sell anything less than that. That's known as your price floor. So price ceiling, I'm not going to sell my product for anything more. Price floor, I'm not going to sell my product for anything less. So there's your range. Your author gives you a couple of thoughts about price ceilings and price floors. Let's start with the floor. There's price floor. You don't want to sell your product for less than your floor, right? Because at that point, you're probably going to be going below your break-even value. You're probably going to be selling a product for less than it cost you to acquire it and sell it yourself. So if you're selling it for less than what you paid for it, that's a loss. So a lot of people don't want losses. Now, there are such things as loss leaders for small products or whatever. Maybe I open up a bar and I give out the peanuts and the popcorn and the pretzels for free. Certainly, I'm selling those things for less than I paid for them. But why do I do that on a price leader? Why do that? Because if you eat a lot of popcorn, eat a lot of peanuts, you eat a lot of pretzels, there's salt in that, odds are you're going to get thirsty and you're going to want to buy more drinks from my bar. So there are some products, not many, that you might want to sell something below cost. And there might be times, hey, I've got a lot of perishable goods. I got to get this stuff out of here. I got to get something for my money. I don't want to just throw it all away. So I'll sell it for below what it cost me just to move inventory for this particular time. But overall, besides having a special time I got to get it done for, you're not going to find too many times with the loss leader. You're not going to find very many times when you're going to sell below the floor that you have. So again, oftentimes that floor, it's determined a lot by your break-even point, how much it cost you to get all these products and sell them, etc. With regard to the price ceiling, there's a couple of concerns that you want to look at. How am I going to set my price ceiling? What can I do? One of the things you want to do is you want to take a look at your competition. Are there others who are selling my product, or am I the only one, or are there just a couple of us? Is there a lot of us, etc.? And with regard to it, what are they selling theirs for? For example, if I'm selling a pizza, and all the other pizza shops around, at most are selling a large plain pizza for 12 bucks. I'm not going to sell mine for 24. Right? That's ridiculous. Why? Because no one's going to buy mine. They're going to go to my competition. So I want to take a look at what your competitors are doing. Are there other products similar to mine that are available? Are they selling the same thing? What are they selling it for? Another of the considerations for your price ceiling is the price sensitivity of your customers. The price sensitivity of your customers. Some customers are really price sensitive. They don't have a high income or whatever. They're counting every penny that comes through the door. They're price sensitive. Other customers are price sensitive because that's the way that they're brought up. Their mom, their dad, their situation that they had, the culture or whatever says, oh my gosh, I don't ever want to pay over a certain price. They're very sensitive to the price. So price sensitivity of your customers is also going to tell you, how high can I go? If my customers are really price sensitive, I probably can't go very high, right? Got to keep it kind of low because they're sensitive to the price. And then the last of the thoughts that your author has with regard to setting that price ceiling is, again, your market position. Remember we talked about that a little bit ago. If my market position, I'm in the luxury automobile industry, I'm probably going to sell my car, my vehicles for a higher price than if I'm in a middle-class market or a economy market. Certainly if you look at the price of a Mercedes and you look at the price of a Hyundai, you're going to find that there's a heck of a difference between them. Usually you find the Mercedes is much higher than the Hyundai, so the ceiling for the pricing of a Mercedes is going to be higher than the ceiling of the price of, say, a Hyundai. So what we're looking at is what's your market position. That's also going to determine your ceiling. That finishes up the second of 3 points under how do I price my product. Let's go to the third. The third, pricing strategies. Pricing strategies. Everybody's got an idea of what to do, but there's some certain strategies that a lot of businesses follow. Let's take a look at these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, see, when I flip the page, there we go. There's 8 of these strategies. The first strategy goes by a buzzword. You've heard of a dog and wags its tail or whatever. The first strategy, and this is all capital letters, WAG, W-A-G, WAG. And that stands for wild ass guess. I'm just going to make a wild ass guess on what I'm going to price this product. And it's amazing how many people do that. And some people are really good guessers, some aren't. But probably a wild ass guess is not the best strategy to follow in setting your pricing. Another pricing strategy that a lot of businesses use, probably I'm going to say most businesses use, is cost plus or markup pricing. I know, okay, this pizza that I'm selling, it's going to cost me $4 to make the pizza. It includes dough and it includes preparation and the salaries and the advertising and the insurance, everything else all together. It's going to cost me $4. So when I go to price it, I know that I want to have something above that. So it'd be basically a cost plus type of thing. So if my cost is $4, I'm not selling it for less than $4. My price is going to be higher than $4. So that's one of the strategies. Let's take a look at how much this thing costs. Another of the strategies, and this is related to cost plus, is called break-even pricing. Break-even pricing. That is, I'm going to price my product exactly at what it costs. Notice the other one was cost plus. It's going to be over what it costs. Here I'm pricing it exactly at what it costs. And this break-even pricing, and that's basically where my costs will equal to revenues that we have here. Most businesses who follow break-even pricing don't use it for the long term. I can imagine I'm not going to make any money. Why would I follow long term? They might do it short term. Oh, a sale we have. Let's get people in the door and spread our name or something like that. Let's get rid of some inventory that we have. With regard to the short term use of this, though, so again, you're not going to use most businesses, and you probably won't either, use it in the long term. Those businesses who use it short term might use it for penetration pricing. Immediately cash flow demands. Oh my gosh, I need cash. I got to pay something. I'll tell you what. I'll sell you this for exactly what I paid for it. Think about this. You have some tickets to some football game or baseball game, hockey game, whatever it might be, and you paid $80 for the tickets, and now all of a sudden, oh my gosh, my rent is due. I need some extra money. I don't have enough, etc. So the ticket that you have, I'm going to sell it. Well, you might try to sell as much as you can, but listen, I just need the $80. Give me the $80, and I'm fine. That will at least help me to finish, give me enough to pay my rent or whatever. So maybe there's some immediate cash flow demand that you have. Another reason for selling it, at the break-even price is to move aging product. And then the last reason mentioned by our author here for this break-even pricing is flash pricing wars. Flash pricing wars. You don't see it as much now, but you used to see it, say, for example, gas stations. You drive down the street and they all have their pricing out on the signs by their gas station. And all of a sudden one station lowers it a couple pennies, and then the station across the street lowers it a couple pennies, and they lower, etc. So you might end up having a pricing war, and eventually at some point you might go down to break-even pricing, but not for long. Probably not going to go below break-even, but again, not for long that we have. So in the short term, there might be some reasons for it. So that was the third of the 8 pricing strategies. So we had WAG, cost plus pricing, and break-even pricing. Let's go to the fourth strategy. It's called going rate pricing, also known as prevailing rate pricing that we have. Okay, my competitors are selling pizzas at $9.95. I'm going to sell it at $9.95. So you look and see what your competitors are selling it for. What's the prevailing price that we have here? What's the going rate for this? I'm just going to jump in, and that's what I'm going to charge for it. Another of the strategies, that was number 4. Number 5 is perceived value pricing. Perceived value pricing. In fact, with regard to perceived value pricing, what we're talking about here is sometimes, even though it doesn't cost you very much, your customer really wants it. They value this very highly. So let's say that, and it's not a pizza, I'm not sure. Let's say it's some medical stuff that I have. and I'm selling this, etc. Maybe it cost me 35 cents to do this. Maybe in the stores, in fact, let's talk about an aspirin. Okay, a little aspirin, let's say it cost me, it's probably less than this, 35 cents to make an aspirin pill. Let's say then, most of the places that sell aspirin or whatever, let's say that they're selling it for 50 cents. But you're in a hospital and you've got this tremendous pain or whatever. Maybe this aspirin is worth more to you. Maybe you perceive the price and, oh my gosh, this is, so maybe you're going to pay more for that. So perceived value pricing. For example, another one. Let's take a look at a Lexus and a Toyota. Lexus 350, Toyota Camry. They're basically the same car. They're both made by the same company. Lexus and Toyota are the same company. But people will pay more for the Lexus than they will for the Toyota. Why? Because they perceive that the value of the Lexus is higher than the value of the Toyota, even though they're basically the same car. You can buy a Toyota with all the luxury features that a Lexus would come with standard or whatever, and yet you're still going to pay more for the Lexus. Why? Perceived value pricing. A couple of other pricing strategies, the last three that I'll mention. Psychological pricing. Psychological pricing. Have you ever noticed when you go to the store, you go to buy something, in fact, let's go back to that pizza I'm selling. I'm selling it for $9.99. I'm not selling it for $10. I'm selling it for $9.99. Why? People, when they hear it, they hear $9.99, they think it's $9 as opposed to if it said 10. They're only 1 penny off. It's still a $10 pizza. It's $9.99. You're saving a buck or 5 cents, $9.95 or something like that. But what you'll see is with regard to psychological pricing, you can price things in such a way that the psychology of people is, wow, I got to buy this because I'm saving, it's $9, it's not $10. I think you'll see that too when you go into movie theaters and you see that they have 3 sizes of popcorn. They have the small size, and let's make sure I'm on the screen here. There we go. There you go. Get the small size, and it's this big. And then we got a medium size, and it's this big. And then we got this jumbo size, right? So what we do is we price it so the small is really expensive. It's like, oh my gosh, just for a couple more pennies I can get the medium. And then we price the large for a large amount. Well, what are we doing? We're trying to get most of you to buy the medium, because the medium is where we have the most profit return, etc. on this for whatever reason. So again, psychological pricing. The last of the, we have 2 more. The next of the the next of the pricing strategies that we have is called prestige pricing. Prestige pricing. This is tied to someone's ego, the ego of your buyer. Oftentimes, people will buy something at a higher value, just so everybody else knows that they spent more money, that they have that additional income, that they're rich or richer than you. For example, let's say that you can you're going to buy a winter coat, and you can buy the same winter coat by the same manufacturer, same size, same color, same style, etc. You can buy it at, say, Kohl's, and not counting discounts and everything else like that. At Kohl's, let's say it's priced at $250. Whereas you can buy the same one, as I just mentioned, say at Marshall's, and it's $110. Now, most of us would say, oh, let's save the money. I'm going to buy it at Marshall's, assuming it's close and all that other stuff. Everything else is even. But a lot of people will still go and buy it at Kohl's, so that when you ask them, oh, I love that coat, where did you get it? They can say, I bought it at Kohl's as opposed to I bought it at Marshall's. I bought it someplace where I have a lot of money and see, I'm rich, etc. I'm doing really well. Unlike you, I didn't have to go to Marshall's and buy it because I'm making more money than you. So what you tend to find is prestige pricing can come into play. Depending on who your target market is, they might not be price sensitive. I'm going to save every penny I can, the lowest price. They might actually want to pay a little bit more because they get the prestige associated with that. And again, you might even say that with regard to the Camry and the Lexus 350. Again, you get the same car, and again, I can buy the Camry with all the luxury features, as add-ons, but maybe I still want to get the Lexus. Why? Because I'm driving a Camry. There's not a whole lot of ego tied to it. You're not looking and saying, oh, he's driving a Camry. Everybody's driving a Camry. If I am, however, driving a Lexus, there's ego attached to it. You're like, oh, wow, you must have some money. You're buying a Lexus. So again, this concept of prestige pricing. The last of the pricing strategies is called bidding. Bidding. We have bidding wars, etc. And you see this, for example, like on eBay. And the strategy is, well, just let people bid up and up and up and up. And even if you do just that, there are strategies, to try to get people to pay more and bid more, etc. But we're just looking at now as just a bidding strategy, and we're not going into the specific mini strategies of how to be successful, say on eBay or, and selling things for bidding. But bidding is another pricing strategy. I'm going to let the market set the price of this. I'm not going to set the price of it. I'm going to let the market set. So that finishes up the third of the major topics we have for what you're selling. Again, the first one was thinking of your product as a solution. The second, don't become a solution in search of a problem. The third, how do I price my product? The fourth and the final of these major topics that we have is positioning and the price quality matrix. Positioning and the price quality matrix. And I'll try to get a slide on here if I can. You'll see in the textbook there's a figure here in the book showing you this price quality matrix that we have. Position yourself. And under this, with regard to positioning the price quality matrix, basically there are 4 positions that you can take. And these 4 positions have a lot to do with pricing, a high price or a low price. And they also have to do with quality, low quality and high quality. Make this quadrant, here we go, let's see if I can do this with it. If you make this quadrant that we have here, you can figure out which quadrant you want to go into. High price, high quality, etc. on it. Now, each of those quadrants has a buzzword to name it. So let me tell you what those 4 buzzwords are, and then we'll conclude the lecture for today. The 4 buzzwords, I'll give you a little bit of a definition for each. First, let me give them to you. There's skimming, also known as price skimming, premium or premium pricing, penetration or penetration pricing, economy or economy pricing. Let's talk a little bit about each of those. Skimming. This is often a short-term positioning that you have. Skimming, is where you charge a really, really high price for a usually short period of time, usually short term, a really high price. We're not necessarily saying we're selling a really high quality product. It could just be a standard or commodity product or whatever, but we're going to sell it really high. A good example of that is think about when a new video game comes out. Usually that video game is priced really high, but over a period of time, what happens to the price of that video game? Same video game, but over time it comes down. Well, why did I price it really high? They use what's called price skimming. They know there's a market. Oh, I got to get it fast. I got to get it because my neighbor's getting one, my friend's getting one, etc. I got to get it too, etc. I got to be one of the first. I don't get it. Oh my gosh, nobody's going to like me and things like that. Related to this, customers may wait for price drops, and then sometimes they don't. And those that don't wait and take your high price, say, oh yeah, buy it now or whatever, when they later see the price drop, sometimes they start to get mad. You overcharged me on this. I don't like that. Also, another problem that you have with price skimming is customers may assume, incorrectly assume, that this high price is what it's going to be forever, or they may assume that it's overpriced from the get-go and you overprice everything. So you want to be careful about that. There's some pros or some cons to skimming. You want to know what skimming is, have an idea of some of the pros and cons. Let's go to the next of these 4, the second of 4, premium or premium pricing. Once again, we're talking about we're charging a high price for this, a high price. Here, your product is perceived to have a high quality, a high value. For example, we're going to charge premium pricing, for that Mercedes because it's perceived to have a high quality, a high value that you have. And what you find is that people, in looking at your product and paying that premium price, oftentimes look at you as being different in a really good way, but being different than the other products. a Mercedes and a BMW and a Lexus are certainly different than a Dodge and a Ford and a Toyota or whatever. They look at you as being different in a really good way, right? With regard to this, they think you're high quality, they know you have high prices, etc. The author mentions something interesting about this and says that premium pricing can be a good, sustainable choice for startup businesses. Go into the market, start off with premium pricing, not on penetration pricing, not the skimming thing, I'm charging high, whatever, because that's oftentimes associated with mediocre or lower quality stuff. If you start off with premium pricing, people will have the perception, well, you make quality products. Now, hopefully you can back that up with the quality that you have, but that might help you out there. Let's go to the third of the four of these strategies. It's called penetration pricing. Penetration pricing. Once again, we're talking, now, we just talked about the two high prices. Now we're going to low prices. So in this particular penetration pricing, you're going to charge a really low price just to get market share. Just to get market share. Usually it's a quick thing. Grand opening sale. Here, come on in and get it. First 100 customers, it's this lower price that we have here, etc. Penetration pricing. After you get in there, eventually you're going to start to raise the prices that you have. You might look at this as an introductory sales price. If you order now, or you're one of the first X customers to buy it, so you're going to get a lower price. Again, it's short term. Some problems though. One is some customers will equate low price with low quality, and you're coming out with a low price right off the get-go. They might look at this and say, "Oh, it must be cheap." I don't want to buy that. This other company is selling it for 25% more. I bet you there's more to that. What's this cheap thing over here? So this concept of being tagged by a pricing strategy, that goes a lot to that brand reputation. You might be tagged as a premium pricer and brand reputation is high. You might be tagged as a penetration pricer, which means your reputation is probably low. You make cheap stuff that we have here. And it's hard. It's hard to change that reputation, that brand reputation. If people think you're a cheapie, even over the course of time, as you start to make better products, they still think you're a cheapie. If they think you have a quality product or whatever, over time, maybe your quality suffers a little bit, doesn't get a whole lot of bad press, suffers a little bit, they're still looking at you as a quality manufacturer or whatever. Well, let's go to the final pricing strategy and the final topic for today's lecture, economy pricing. Once again, we're on the low end, right? Low pricing, etc. Here, though, it's not for short term. It's not just to penetrate the market, and I'm going to go back to my regular pricing or whatever. Economy pricing, this is long-term sustained low pricing. Long-term sustained low pricing. And by the way, if you decide to do this and be an economy thing, look, a dollar store makes a ton of money, right? They're very successful, and there's a lot of places, they're economy places, and they make a ton of money. Make sure that if you're going to do that, that these low prices fit your cost structure. Your costs, better fit that low price. That means your costs ought to be low and not growing, because you're going to be stuck with that low price. You might be able to move it up a little bit, but you're still going to be low in the market because everybody's going to say, hey, you're a low price, manufacturer. They're going to have that brand reputation that we have here. They're going to look at you as that budget brand. They're going to look at you, probably as low quality brand. But, budget brand, low quality brand. Think about this as students. How often do you go into a store and you'll buy a cheaper product? I know, for example, that when I go to Walmart, etc., I will oftentimes, I'll look, and Walmart has its own brand of things, and then there's the name brand. And I've actually tried many of these, and I found out that the Walmart brand is just as good as the name brand. So what I might do is I might buy the Walmart brand because I know I can count on it, etc., and it's a low price. It's economy pricing with their brand that we have here. I will mention one last downside for economy pricing. Studies have shown that customers tend not to be very loyal to manufacturers, sellers, or whatever on economy pricing. They're not so loyal. They're usually customers who buy for economy pricing. Usually they're price sensitive. They're driven by price. So, okay, you're selling it here, right? and everybody else is selling it up here. But if all of a sudden some other people come in here and they start selling it down here, I'm going to them. I mean, the hell with you. I mean, I loved you. You did a great job, but I'm going to go with them, assuming, again, the quality matches my expectations, my needs, etc. that we have here. So be careful that loyalty is not necessarily there. So that finishes up today's lecture, Chapter 5, What Are You Selling? Gives you an idea of some things you should look at insofar as choosing your product and choosing the price for your product. Hopefully some of these things make some sense, and if you think about it, go over some of these things, it's not unusual to see these things in play. If you think about some of the things we talked about and you start looking at real-world stuff, I bet you can come up with some pretty good examples. Well, as I said, that finishes up my lecture for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned from it. If you have any questions, certainly let me know. But with that said, I'm done for the day, and I hope you have a great day coming up. I'll see everybody later. Bye-bye.